Jedi Knights and Sith Lords, and welcome to the Star Wars Artefacts Show. Today we have a special guest, professional sculptor Joe Menna, who will talk about his work. As usual, I'm with my co host Eric and Joe. Welcome to the show.
Thanks, fellas. I really appreciate being here.
All right. So, usually I ask like some sort of an icebreaker question. Um, and what I have for you is, what is your favorite all-time Star Wars project? Could be a movie, could be a book, could be a TV series. There's no right or wrong answer. So
For for,
Puts you on the
for
spot
that's
though,
me,
no
there,
pressure,
right?
right?
no. I mean, I just for me, can I mention two?
Yeah,
Sure.
sure.
All right. So I was 7 in 1977, and I remember seeing Star Wars. I still call it Star Wars because it wasn't even called A New Hope until the
Yeah.
second release. And I remember seeing Star Wars for the first time, sitting behind this guy with long hair. I was, May the Force be with you T-shirt. It was down at the boardwalk at the beach, and it was, that was special in summertime, and because I think I probably saw it. I probably saw it. No, I may have seen. I didn't see it opening weekend, but it was close because it was our family, my grandparents' shore house. So I just remember seeing that film and just wanting it not to end. I remember the trench run, thinking to myself, I don't want this to end, and it just changed my life. It imprinted itself on my DNA in a way that I can't, like Star Wars changed my life, and it became. I was already very much interested in mythology,
Hmm.
in fantasy and science fiction and comic books, of course. My first love, comic books, but Star Wars became such an integral part of my life, particularly like as I got older. And my dad turned me on to Joseph Campbell. He's like, "Hey, do you know that George Lucas? This is what he was
Hmm.
reading." And Here with a Thousand Faces, and my own journey through studying sculpture and going to go study at an academy. Just for me, it was like a Jedi academy, and I felt like I was following Luke's path. Believe it or not, all the way through my adulthood to now, I still relate directly to Star Wars.
Hmm.
And then but the entire when Star Wars number 7 came out with that incredible Gil Kane cover, and Han and Chewie, and then the Marvel comic series, and the beginning of the expanded universe with Splinter the Mind's Eye, which was written as a backup script for a TV show in case, like a sequel, in case Star Wars failed.
Hmm.
And then the Brian Daly Han Solo books, and just everything. And then Empire came out, and see, I mean, my age, everybody, for me, I'm old enough to remember a time where every book was preceded by From the Adventures of Luke Skywalker. And I
Okay.
got that issue of Time magazine that announced Empire, and George said that he's going to make 9 films, and all of a sudden that disappeared like 20 years. That never happened, right? But like just I don't have a favorite project because Star Wars has never not been part of me. I I I I. I I was actually very disappointed by Heir to the Empire because here was the official sequel, and
Hmm.
I think Timothy Zahn gave us Thrawn, which is great, but he also introduced hot chocolate into the Star Wars universe with that novel, which to me made no sense. And that's supposed to be a joke, guys. Just kidding.
I was trying
Yeah,
to.
he
What?
did. No, like
I was not
C-3PO,
sure. Yeah, I was following you
C-3PO
there.
comes up to Luke and he's like, I think it's that one. And he's like, what are you drinking, Master Luke? He says, oh, it's something new. It's called hot chocolate. I'm like, oh, you kidding me, dude? Please, like,
Sorry.
but just then, it was difficult for me when the property was sold because I really loved the extended universe. I loved the new Jedi Order series. I loved everything about the books and stuff. I, I love all the films. I love all the shows. I love all the cartoons. I mean, there's like I'm an easy. I mean, I'm me when it comes to Star Wars. I'm all in. I just
Yeah,
don't.
I get you on that. Yeah,
How were
yeah.
you
Yeah.
with the prequels when they came out originally? How did you react to that?
At the time, my at the time, uh, my first daughter was young, and that was it. So that was it was hard for me the prequels. When I saw all the cereal boxes and all the stuff in anticipation of the film, when I saw the licensing stuff come out, and I wasn't involved in collectibles at that point yet, but and I saw how everything, I just saw how commercialized it was in a way that I didn't.
Yeah.
I was too young to really get that as a kid.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I felt that the exposition that George Lucas was giving in the Phantom Menace was cool. I think he just didn't find his footing until Revenge of the Sith. But I think
Yeah.
in hindsight, I still love them. I mean,
Yeah.
I think Hayden, my stepmom, my bonus mom, she ran a pharmacy in Toronto, and she was Hayden's family's pharmacist
Oh
until he
wow.
like left.
Wow.
She said he was the coolest kid in the world. I think his slow burn as Anakin was awesome, right?
Mm-hmm.
I thought he did a great job.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think Lucas was just, there's a problem when you have too much control. I work for a wealthy heir that Johnson and Johnson fortune at a foundry where I worked, and everybody just kissed his ass and just yes sir, yes sir, yes sir. He just walked around. He had no talent. George Lucas had a ton of talent, but
Mm-hmm.
this guy was just, he couldn't draw a straight line, and he was a sculptor. We sculpted all this stuff for him, and he would just point this and that. Everything looked exactly the way he wanted, but people just they just incessantly kissed his ass,
Just
whatever he
yes
said.
men all around, right?
And when I watched the behind the scenes of a Phantom Menace, I was like, oh my god, or no, it was like I think it was Attack of the Clones. When I see like George Lucas walking through a room of maquettes made out of like a hard material called Super Sculpey, and he's like, I'd like to see that head. There's like 100 maquettes, and he's like, that head on that body, and I could see the sculptors, like I could see their shoulders going, oh, just like because the work that went into them. Or when you see all these beautiful storyboards, and he's just taking a sharp or a big marker on, and I was like, wow, nobody's saying no to this dude.
Yeah.
I'm like, that's why that. But I think by episode 3, I think they started. I think he started to get it because I think Revenge of the Sith. I like it. Like for me,
Yeah.
if
It's my favorite of the sequels for sure.
for me, I go Star Wars, Empire, and Revenge of the Sith in terms of like for my favorites
Okay.
for the original for George's films.
It's a lot
Yeah.
of emotion. I find that I went back and rewatched. I don't know how many times, but like what brought a lot of context for me for the whole prequels was the Clone Wars series. And at first I liked episode 1 just because I was so hungry to have more Star Wars. So I got jumped into it. But same thing with you. I
Mm-hmm.
think when I saw the toys and everything, it was just so easily accessible. Like it just, I don't know. It became very commercial. Part 2, I wasn't too crazy about the whole little love story at first, but then it got completed with the story arc with Revenge of the Sith. But like really, when I watched Clone Wars, it added so much depth to episode 2 and 3 that I found a
And,
new
and Rebels
appreciation.
too, right? Even
Yeah.
Rebels,
Yeah.
like
And
Sure.
the emotion that you see in episode 3 now, going back and watching it as a more mature, at a more mature level rather than being a younger kid. Well, it just changed the whole story. Like Hayden was just absolutely incredible. Like a lot of people make fun of some of the lines and stuff like that. But just you could see that like he's torn, and I thought he acted that really well. So
the
Yeah.
Sand People scene and everything.
yeah,
Look,
Absolutely.
the only thing I don't like about my only problem with the Phantom Menace, honestly, is Jake Lloyd.
yeah.
Uh, because when you saw the other kid that screen tested, he was like great.
I didn't
Are
see
you an
that.
angel? Like Jake Lloyd was just terrible. I hate to say it. I mean, God bless him, but it was.
Yeah,
But man, that lightsaber battle, and then you tie that into Rebels,
Yeah. For
you
sure.
Obi, and you're like, Obi Wan's the most badass like Jedi of all time, like
yeah,
right? Like
Mm-hmm.
Obi Wan he just blows the shit out of Anakin. Like it's not even a competition. Like
yeah,
when Obi Wan you press his button the wrong way, and with Darth Maul, he's just like you're thinking in Rebels is gonna be like the most epic lightsaber battle of all time, and Obi Wan just goes wonk,
yeah.
like. But I really I like I I mean it all is what it is. It's just for me. I really the cool thing about Attack of the Clone. I mean, for Phantom Menace is, I was just new to. I grew up with computers and Atari and all that stuff. I had all that stuff, but I was 1998. I was coming off a 10-year dry spell of just studying academic sculpture, and so I had like a used Windows PC for my mom. But you know, playing those early Star Wars video games too for me was a big way for me to be reintroduced to Star Wars, along with the Phantom Menace. You know, getting into the Jedi Knight series and
That
Dark
pod racer
Forces.
game, right?
Yeah, Dark Forces and all those games
Yeah,
were
Jedi
incredible.
Academy was
Jedi
incredible.
Knight.
Guys,
Yeah.
when Galaxies came out, you know that remember that game Galaxies, the
Yeah.
open.
Yeah.
I would sit there for like 8 hours and just like I would just walk around Jabba's palace. Nobody like just to see it. Go to Obi-Wan's place just to see it.
Well, that's the one. The Battlefront, as much as the game is hit or miss. I mean, I've played it, and my kids still play to this day. The Battlefront to the new ones that came out, and just visually, it's incredible. Like they've, you can go in Jabba's palace and you can go and fight these. But I just
Really?
like going in there and
I
finding all
haven't,
the
but
Easter
yeah.
eggs. So
Well, I have Survivor. My son let me take his Xbox here, and I've only played Survivor for like 10 minutes. Because honestly, the video games for me suck. Honestly, I mean not the artistry, but the playing of video games has not evolved past Donkey Kong. It's like move, move,
yeah,
move, swing, jump. You know, it's like Pitfall Harry or Donkey Kong, right? But so I play in story mode because I'm terrible, but the lightsaber fights are great.
yeah,
But the visuals of Survivor are and the story is just like it's overwhelmingly. It's like,
Yeah, it's done.
man,
yeah,
this kid needs to be in a live action thing as soon as possible. I
Yeah.
mean,
yeah. Well,
I
we can
love that
go.
little. Did
We
you see that
Something
little?
tell me I got the feeling it's coming. We're gonna see
Well,
Cameron. That's
well,
his
he
name.
came out
Cameron
at
Yeah,
Mario.
Celebration,
Yeah.
right, with the the poncho and everything like that, and
Yeah. On the
he
center
got a good
stage. Yeah.
pop
did
and
you guys
everything.
see that the Instagram video with him and Mark Hamill?
Yeah. Oh, that was so
That was so
hilarious.
funny.
Oh
Yeah,
That was
yeah.
great.
good promo.
That was great. Yeah.
So
So I'm
let's
gonna
go
turn the
back though.
spotlight on you a little bit,
Oh
Joe,
yeah.
Yeah.
and I'm gonna ask you. I think it's the most important question, at least to start our conversation. Is how did you find out that you had talent for sculpting?
I didn't. I just always drew. I always drew.
Okay.
I wanted to be a comic artist when I was a little kid. I've been drawing ever since I was like 2 years old, seriously. And then I drew, and I had a very good high school art teacher who got me in a lot of cool programs, a scholarship to art college, and there you have a foundation year, which is like you do everything, but you have to choose a major. You have to choose a major your sophomore year. I
Hmm.
chose painting. I wanted to be Vincent Van Gogh or Remedios Modigliani, and instead, the painting department was. Can we curse on this?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
The painting department was just total shit. University of Arts, the painting department was shit, and so I immediately switched to sculpture, and then I did actually switch back to illustration one year, like a further year down the road, because I felt I was just always lost. But then I found a mentor who was he was Ukrainian born, Russian Academy trained mentor in Philadelphia. Followed him to New York, studied with him there a total of 6 years, and ultimately I went to school where he went to school, and it was all the puzzle pieces that he gave me that I was able to assemble together for my 2 years in St. Petersburg at the best school in the world, I think, to this day. And we didn't study like realistic sculpture or figurative sculpture, any kind of sculpture. We just studied sculpture. We studied classical Greek sculpture, Renaissance sculpture, Pan African sculpture from the top of from the top of the continent to the bottom. Same thing with South America, Central America, indigenous peoples' work of first peoples of North America, uh, Asian sculpture from China to Japan, all over the place. And we tried to distill what it was that all these different cultures, what was it that made all their work, what did it all have in common, and that was sculpture. And that was what I was into. The kind of work I do for collectibles is absolutely not the kind of sculpture I ever made for myself or would make for myself. I'm not into doing like realistic figures or any of that stuff. I never did realism out of any type or shape or form until I started working at this fine art foundry,
Hmm.
and I had to, you know, and they were sculpting life-size figures, but even then, like using a toothbrush to make the skin pores and doing all that nonsense and making the bullshit eyes with the little special effects and the dots on them and
Hmm.
all the superficial kind of stuff that I find for me is not my thing. Um, and I and and even when I first started doing collectibles, I wasn't doing anything like I didn't really start doing realism until a little bit later on in my collectibles career when I started doing some freelance work for McFarlane.
Oh
You
boy.
know, because the
Yeah.
superhero stuff was all just
Yeah.
spandex and muscles and stuff.
Hmm.
But McFarlane was all about like really detailed fabrics and stuff like that, and it was good. It was a
So,
good learning
what did you
experience.
do at McFarlane? Is there any? Because I mean, McFarlane, I think, and a lot of other people probably remember it from the movie Maniacs line that I think really got it going. I
I no,
think,
I didn't.
but
So I, no, I so I st- so I got into I actually started off working for Hasbro.
okay,
I did stuff for I did the Ironmonger, and I was doing action figures. I did a couple action figures with them. Some one was like a fan choice, and it didn't get picked. It was a Red King from World War Hulk. I did some stuff for the Hulk movie line, and then I did one of the first, what I believe, I think is perhaps the first independently produced digitally sculpted statue in the business, like Gentle Giant, and of course the toy companies were digital way before anybody else. The old Gentle Giant and other companies were probably using digital, but Randy Bowen gave me an opportunity to do my like a digital. He wanted me, he Randy Bowen was going to give me an opportunity based on my traditional portfolio, and I was like, hey, how about if we do it this way? And he said, sure. So I did this Mephisto based on a, I think it was from a Thor annual. It was a John Bishima illustration. And then that worked out. And then I started that from there. I was able to work for DC Direct for many years, a great relationship with them. Still friends with everybody. Warner Brothers shut that down um, around the beginning of the pandemic. But I don't think, I think because Jim Lee made an announcement, they just wanted to go to a licensing model. They
yeah.
didn't want to do
Coincidentally,
manufacturing.
now they're with McFarlane, I think, right? DC. Yeah.
No,
No.
McFarlane just, from my understanding, is that McFarlane that has the license. You know,
Okay.
Like there was, I think there was that master. Even though the entire time of DC Direct, like McFarlane has a license to the brand DC Direct, and they have the master action figure license or whatever it's called.
Okay.
Okay.
Remember Mattel used to have it. Remember that Mattel
Uh-huh.
used to do all the DC action figures coincident with the DC Direct stuff. Well, now that's McFarlane, and
Okay.
they also have the license. To my understanding, I could be totally wrong. Um, I don't have a good relationship with McFarlane any longer. I don't have a relationship. Let's put it like that. I don't have a bad one either. I just don't have any connection to them. Um, but anyway, so I'll tell you a funny story. If you guys want to hear how I got my first Star Wars job, was
Okay.
I was very I was I in the old days it was really incumbent upon the sculptors to go to it was the only con that was really any companies in San Diego. Now there's companies in New York. You can go to Toy Fair, but really, if you wanted to get jobs, you went to San Diego Comic Con. You worked the floor, and so I did that for years. And I was able to get interviewed by the original Gentle Giant Ltd.
Hmm.
The current one is owned by Diamond Select Toys, and
Yeah.
they're and I think it's an even better brand. It's a great company. Diamond or Chuck, the Chuck who runs Diamond is just been a he's been a great friend to me over the years, and Diamond is now my oldest running customer. And Dark Horse Direct too. They're wonderful folks also. But anyway, so one of my current art directors at Diamond, Dev Gilmore, and the original owner of Gentle Giant, Carl, they interviewed me at Comic Con, and they were going to give me some work, and they hooked me up with my buddy who I already knew, Gabriel Garcia, who still runs all the production stuff for Gentle Giant and Diamond in Los Angeles. Diamond's headquarters in Maryland, I believe.
I think
Um,
it is. Yeah.
and Gabe was like, "Hey, do you want to do some Star Wars stuff?" I'm like, yeah, "I'll do anything. I even I love Star Wars. I even love Jar Jar." and I was serious. So, so he gave me a Jar Jar. Remember that Jar Jar's that Christmas one that came out?
I think I
Yeah,
remember it. Yep,
Santa
yeah, yeah,
Claus
yeah.
hat and Christmas lights, and I think
Yeah.
it's like
Oh my
I forget.
gosh,
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
been a
yeah. That
while.
was a long time ago. And then remember the Scout Trooper
Hmm.
with remember the cartoon Scout Trooper with the cartoon Ewoks?
Absolutely, yeah. I
Those are my
remember those
first
two. Yeah.
those are my first
Wow.
two Star Wars jobs. This is this stuff is current. Or this is more recent Diamond Select toy stuff. This is one of my favorites. And Moff Gideon. That was a lot. That was cool.
Sorry, I'm a little
This
fast.
one,
I was trying to
this
find the because I have the one of the Scout Trooper. I don't know if that's the one you were talking about with the
yeah.
he's
But
being a
this Bib Fortuna this might be the very last one I did for the former Gentle Giant.
Okay. So there were Gentle Giant Studios
Yeah, yeah.
before it was Gentle Giant Ltd.
Yep, yep.
Okay.
And this was my boss then was Ashley Gilmore, who's married to Dev Gilmore. There, Ashley Gilmore's she was a great mentor to me. She is a pioneer in the collectibles industry because there's not a lot of not only incredibly talented, gifted, and um, accomplished women in the industry. There's not a lot of women, period. But Ashley's just one of the best, um, most dynamic leaders I've ever met in the business. This is ESB uh, Boba Fett. I
yeah. I
love
can tell by the
the
stairs.
yeah. The cool thing about this was like yeah, like for when I don't know if we're allowed to talk about the kind of reference that we use, but when I Google stuff like for this, I saw a picture of Irving Kershner um, like reclining on the stairs of the
The carbon freezing chamber.
carbon freezing chamber set,
Yeah.
and it was just the right perspective for me to be able to like get a good look at what these stairs look like. But sculptors get an undue amount of credit when it comes to this stuff. What people don't understand is there is usually there is a concept artist. So there's a concept artist. There is an art director, and then there's people that make the prototypes. Whether today mostly stuff is done digitally. It takes it's an army of people. So all of my Gentle Giant stuff for Diamond has been art directed by Dev Gilmore. Previously, most of my stuff was art directed by Gabe Garcia from the older Gentle Giant. That Bib Fortuna was art directed, I believe, by Aaron White.
Okay.
Um, yeah, and then so like it's not like the sculptors get a lot of the sculptors get more. It really pisses me off when I see sculptors say, "Oh, this is from so and so and me." Well, you didn't come up with the idea. It's not your IP. Like none of
Hmm.
this is original. You're just basically like following someone else's direction and instructions.
Well, I noticed your
But the
friends. We have a mutual friend, Nelson. Oh, what's his name? Nelson.
Asensio,
Yeah.
yeah,
Um,
he designed that Boba Fett, I believe.
so the only reason I know Nelson is because I actually I did one prototype for Diamond Select, and it's just because I live in Canada and the shipping was crazy that they couldn't use me going forward because it was taking long and the customs and all this kind of stuff. But I did a Captain America, and that's the only time I ever worked. I think for an official, I guess, company like
That's
that.
cool.
Yeah,
But
but
this was I get a lot of comps and sometimes I don't. Diamond is absolutely fantastic with comps. They comp meaning complimentaries. Like
yeah,
I get more samples from Diamond than anybody else. Sometimes I get them though. Sometimes I don't. But when I get them, I'll get like five of them. And
Wow, that's cool.
and if I don't get them, I try not to unless it's something super sick, like I'm really excited about because my son's 16, but he's growing up. All my kids are growing up with this stuff. And the other thing is too is a lot of people think like all these Mando, Boba Fett, like whatever's. Everybody thinks like it's all repurposed this and repurpose. No, it's like no, believe it. Like I think you guys showed the Django to start with, right?
Yeah.
Like
Go back to the beginning.
for anybody who
Eric.
thinks that Django's helmet has anything to do with what Boba looks like,
That one. Yeah.
yeah,
you know what I mean?
yeah.
I'm telling you, it's like
It's
it's
not the
like,
same at all.
oh, it's. I was hoping it was the same. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
When I got the
You
job,
get
I
a
was like,
very good
oh yeah,
job.
no
Well,
Much
problem.
easier, right?
like we said
Same.
before starting, like being part of the 501st Legion, and we know all the groups, the Mandos, the Mercs, and all that stuff, and I've made that a few times when I'm talking to somebody like, can you print me a Mandalorian helmet? I said, is it basically just like Boba Fett without that? You know, and the guy's no, no, no. And then he started talking to me about it before it really got big, the whole Mando thing, right? We had pretty much just seen Django and Boba Fett, and then it just like that's when I started noticing the difference in the details and
Yeah,
the
and
shape
then
and
I was so stupid. Like, so the base of this is not
You
Geonosis.
know this, yeah.
This
yeah,
is Camino.
Camino, yeah,
Camino,
that's
yeah.
what I
This is
was saying.
Camino,
It's Tipoca City on
and
Camino, yeah.
most of these busts are all designed by my friend Joe Allard,
Yep.
and then I don't know why I just got my Mace Windu from Diamond, and I'm looking at the Jango Fett helmet on the ground, and I'm like, I'm like, I forgot that I did that when I did this. Like I forgot I had this fire so like like yeah. So I try not
Yeah,
to repurpose
so
even this. Like
yeah,
this was one of this is a and I have to say this, like the pandemic, man, everything changed for us sculptors during the pandemic. And Diamond more than anybody just kept feeding me work and kept me going. And even though I have a day job, I sculpting working for me is where I need to work, and Diamond has always had my back and always been there. Dark Horse Direct as well. He formerly Dark Horse, they're just Dark Horse Comics, but now they're called Dark Horse Direct. Um, and then formerly DC Direct before they bailed. Those not bailed before they dissolved. You know, um, but now I'm actually starting to work with Hasbro again for the first time in years, which is exciting. And still work with Diamond, still work with Dark Horse. Um, I've been fortunate to be able to maintain. This is one of my favorite things that I did
you can see the
for Channel
helmet
Jump.
is the one you're talking about behind the what his feet, I guess,
Yeah,
behind
yeah.
him.
I was like, I brought it
hmm
to my office. I actually brought it to my day job office, and I'm looking at it. I was showing my friend. I'm like, God damn! Look at. I said, why don't I use that helmet? Like
You couldn't have,
I don't know.
I guess you weren't allowed to put his head in there too. It just had to be the bucket.
Well,
After
I don't
No,
to
wanna
decapitate.
I
there
wanna
was,
contradict you, Eric, but when Mace Windu chop his head off, you see the shadow of the head coming out of the
Oh,
helmet.
do you? Oh, okay, well there
Yeah,
you
we
go.
do. So technically,
wow,
Joe
Dom.
did the right thing by not inserting
Joe did
the head
nothing. Joe
inside.
only does what he's directed to do. Seriously.
Well,
Now
just
this one,
go back to two pictures because I have a story with the Mandalorian bust because one of our mutual friend Eric and I has a toy store near Quebec City, and I got to visit his store for the very first time in 2021, if my memory is right. It was during the pandemic, so I was being careful because of my condition. I'm breathing at only 30% of a normal person. So uh, if I got COVID, I would have become one with the force. So I took extra cautious. I was extra cautious, but I saw that statue uh, on a display at his store, and I was like, "What's that series?" I didn't know the Legend in 3D series, so it was like, "Oh, want to see it?" So he took it out of the display, and as we were talking, he began wrapping the statue, and then he said, "Well, okay, it's gonna cost you like 210." I was like, "Well, I didn't say I was purchasing it, but yeah, it's all wrapped up now. It's ready. It's calling me." So yeah, I just bought it, and that bus was my very first L3D bus, and now I think I own like 16.
really,
So
I think it's a great series that Diamond does. I did an L3D Rorschach. It was really cool to do from the
mhm.
movie, well, from the Watchmen film
Yeah.
version. I did L3D Spider Man. I did the L3D Yoda. I've done, I guess, and man, anything that's related to Mandalore. I think I've done all of them.
Yeah, well, I
Uh,
have the three Mendo next to me now. I got the ESB Boba, I had the Book of Boba Fett Boba, and right behind them I have that specific bust of Mando
And I
in
think
his
they did like a
full
San
armor.
Diego. They think they did a San Diego Comic Con exclusive of the Mandalorian that was like translucent,
Yeah,
right?
it's a light up. Yeah, it's
Like a
behind me
hologram
somewhere.
version.
Yeah, so there's a light up function on it, and it pops up blue when we light it up. So
But
I
it's
also got that
this
one.
one I can't take. This one there was like this one was cool, but I believe I have to be honest. The helmet was I think the helmet was an existing asset, as was the base. I think yeah, the base. This is the old Gentle Giant, and I don't mean that. I don't mean old as you know what I mean. The former
Yeah,
Gentle Giant.
Yeah,
I put
Oh
some.
yeah,
I mixed it up
honestly,
there.
yeah, Moon Knight.
this
I
is
had
Yeah.
to
like
put him
this
in there.
isn't. Thanks. This isn't Star Wars, guys, but
Hmm.
No,
I'm
I
like,
went in and when I looked at the website that you gave us, like you'll see I threw in a lot of my own personal favorites along the way. So
thanks.
yeah,
This for me. This is also designed by Joe Allard. Is based on the more contemporary Moon Knight. Moon Knight's a character that means a lot to me. I know a lot of people I know people who have different challenges in terms of like Moon Knight's character with mental health and stuff
Yeah.
like that.
yeah,
Hmm.
And the fact that Marvel long ago, and even more so with the TV series, took someone who is took the type of person that is typically ostracized and
Hmm.
treated like an outcast, and not only
Yeah.
made him a hero but a superhero. And then on top of that, I've worshipped Bill Sienkiewicz since I was like 12 years old. When I saw Bill Sienkiewicz's artwork, and it connects to Star Wars because he did the Jedi, he did the covers for the Jedi miniseries, right?
Hmm.
Return of the Jedi came out as a miniseries; it wasn't part of the regular Star Wars series. And Bill Sienkiewicz did all those book covers. I think he did the cover of the special edition too. When I first saw Bill Sienkiewicz, the comic artist, work in the New Mutants, it really changed my life. The way he did two-dimensional and three-dimensional work together, and the expressiveness. And in recent years, I've gotten to become friends with him. He's one of my greatest artistic heroes, and he is the guy who, I mean, Don Perlin is the first guy to draw Moon Knight, but Bill Sienkiewicz was drawing him in the Marvel magazine edition format, and then the modern version of the comic, when Bill Sienkiewicz was still drawing in a style reminiscent of his mentor Neil Adams. Bill Sienkiewicz is the artist responsible for the modern visual style of Moon Knight and the storytelling and the design. And so when I got to become real, actual, like in person friends with him, and over the past couple years, in my heart, even though I was designing this according to what Diamond wanted and everything, I was
Hmm.
thinking about Bill, and like this is in my head. I was like mentally dedicating it to the man who made Moon Knight what he is today, along with so many other some of the great writers too. You
Well,
know,
the
but
character looks great. I mean, when I saw the series, I didn't know much about Moon Knight,
yeah,
but
same.
I fell in love with the character, the way he looks. His suit is awesome,
yeah, and Oscar
and
Isaac is man.
Yeah,
yeah, Oscar is such a great actor. I mean,
Well,
well,
I'm gonna go see tomorrow. I'm taking my son to go see Into the Spider or whatever.
same
I'm
thing.
taking
Three
the
o'clock.
next Miles Morales movie, and I mean Oscar Isaac. He's in that too. I
Yeah,
mean but he in Moon Knight, man, that was special. He was. I do hope that he does come. I hope. Like I don't know what's gonna happen to Daisy Ridley films.
hmm.
I don't see how they cannot have John. I don't see that. I don't see how they can't have Finn come back,
yeah,
especially since you only see his nascent force
Sensitive.
yeah.
Yeah.
ability
We
for a
find out.
second.
Hmm.
Yeah,
And I don't see how you can. I mean, like for me, like Poe Dameron was like the Han Solo of the old
yeah.
series, and
Oh yeah,
the
Yeah,
humor,
basically.
yeah,
and I would love to see I would love to see. I love the sequels. I actually, I there's not one. I don't have a problem with Ryan John. I don't care. I'm fine with it all.
yeah,
And I like the way I like what they're doing with Bad Batch, and I'm actually my son is not. My son's more interested in hanging out with his friends and watching TV with his dad now. So unfortunately, I'm way behind on Mandalorian. But I like the way all the clone stuff is going to lead us up to
yeah,
how Palpatine. You know, like
yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah.
so. I'm getting off on a
The
tangent. I'm sorry. I could talk Star
So
Wars
how
all
does
day.
it feel though? Like when you said all the history behind Moon Knight, and then how did it come about that you got to actually work on a project for something that you're actually
I just get
passionate
it
about?
signed. I mean, I'll get an email I'll get an email from Diamond. You want to do this? Sure. You want to do this? Sure.
Are
You
there
know,
some
okay,
that
so
like
it's
your
on an offer basis.
no, I don't. No, I just take whatever work I can get. And the only time I'll ever turn down work is if, in the old days, like before the pandemic, I was busy all the time. I was working like 5 jobs at a time. but that's what's allowed me to survive as a freelancer after the pandemic because of having. And I've been a pain in the ass for a lot of companies. I mean, even I have an art director I'm working for now. I don't think the guy likes me at all, and I think he just works with me because someone else likes me and is making him work with me. But I've burned a lot of bridges. I've done a lot of stupid things, but somehow I've still maintained a platform of trust with a handful of companies by working for so many companies all at once for so many years. I still have Diamond. I'm still working for Diamond. I'm still working for Dark Horse. Uh, Even though I haven't done an action figure for Hasbro since like 2007, 8, I was still doing like accessories and bullshit like that for them for
Hmm.
years. Every company I'm working with now is a legacy company that I've worked with since almost I got into the business, and it's all about relationships and trust. There's a million kids out all over the world picking up ZBrush out,
Yeah.
video game artists that could do ZBrush circles around me, all the detail and this and that and all this bullshit and super whatever they want to do, all that. I can't do all that stuff, but I get your job done on time. I can make it manufacturable. You can count on me. I'll meet your deadline. I can make it look cool. Like this is an old one. This was for a Gentle
It was
Giant.
great. Yeah,
That's the first time I ever texture mapped anything. Those scales on
on the
Nagini.
snake.
Yeah, that was
Hmm.
difficult for me. I had no idea how to texture map at the time, and
Well, let's talk about texture a bit because uh, it's one of the fortes, I think, of the L3D series. I'm always going back to the L3D CD because that's a series I collect. Well, I think that I can afford collecting. So, for example, your ESB Boba Fett bust, there's like those ropes on his shoulder, or more like
that's all done by
Wookiee
hand.
Wookiee pelts.
But that's all done by hand. I mean, like I go in with a hand brush and I just. The only L3Ds I've done, so like, see if you see like Moon Knight's face.
Mm-hmm.
If you imagine a model with a grid on it, right?
Yeah.
Like a grid wrapped around it, and or even and you won't be able to see it with this resolution, but so to imagine this digital model has different levels of resolution. Like you can use a slider to go up and down. So you go to the lowest level where it just looks like it's all made out of squares.
Okay.
Those those squares all have coordinates. They're called UV coordinates, and I don't remember what the U and the V stand for, but basically they're just imagine like there's a checkerboard wrapped around his face, and then you make the texture fit that checkerboard, and when you up the resolution of the model,
Mm-hmm.
the texture will be projected will be projected onto the model. So you can actually take different cloth textures, scale textures, any you could take different textures and map them. It's called texture mapping. You can map them
Okay.
to the model. So for L3D, the only time I had to do that was actually for Moon Knight's face. For Spider-Man was hard, honestly. Texture mapping Spider-Man was hard, and Rorschach's map was very difficult too for me. But now I'm very lucky to be friend. I'm very lucky to have the company ZBrush is now owned by a company called Maxon, but the developers of ZBrush, people work there. I've known for many years, my dear friends. So I've been really fortunate. My one friend Paul Gabry, he's a senior developer for the program ZBrush, which we all use,
Mm-hmm.
and he's one of my best friends. So I have the good fortune of being able to have, if I get jammed up, I can call him on a Friday or Saturday and
Okay.
help. If he can't help me, he'll help me sooner, ish than later. The Nagini, that was untrue. That was not the first. Well, Nagini is the first thing I truly texture map. This was a bullshit texture where I texture map some of it, but then I also just use like stamp brushes,
Okay.
like to make the texture. This is a 12-inch deluxe action figure for DC Direct, which McFarlane has recently re-released as a build-to-figure,
Yeah.
and they did change it a little bit. Like they made the I see that they uh, made the chains more manufacturable. Like they're more consolidated,
This is from
Mm-hmm.
the
and I think
Arkham game series, right? I think.
Arkham,
Or,
yeah,
yeah.
and I think they changed his expression too. Yeah, this is this is from like Arkham City. I did an Arkham City cat. This is the second thing I ever did. Uh, this was back in 2008. Yeah.
Hmm.
This was art directed by my friend Brian Webster. He's one of my best friends in the business.
I love the
I
melted
also have to give a
glass.
shout out. A very important person in my career and in my life as a friend is a guy named Jason Wires. Jason Wires is printed and prototyped and painted like most of the stuff you see for companies like Diamond, Dark Horse, and so many others over the years. DC formerly, so many companies. Jason Wires Productions is one of the most prolific independent prototyping and painting studios in the country. Jason's brother Eddie Wires was a very famous painter for the toy industry before his untimely passing. But Jason made his own business and is he's one of my best friends in the business too. And I just felt I should give him a shout out because a lot of this, Jason's responsible for a lot of the stuff you see. There was a life size Invincible action figure at near Comic Con, I think this year or last
Okay.
year. He did that. He did that for Diamond. It was sculpted by my friend Chris Dahlberg. Yeah, this is all. This is like my last two. The last 2 years of the pandemic, I was the first ever sculptor for this series. DC got into the art vinyl thing, and it was called Artist Alley. This is the
Okay.
inaugural set. It was based on the work of Chris Uminga, and I was the very first DC Artist Alley sculptor, and I was the very first sideshow Unruly sculptor. I sculpted a series of monsters based on the work of Ian McDonald, and yeah, so I did almost nothing but like art the vinyls for like 2 years before COVID got really. I
If
was
I had to save one of my busts, if my house was on fire or something like that, it would be that one.
this is I was gifted with one of these from Diamond. This is also designed by Joe Allard. I thought it was brilliant to have Yoda's house be the base,
Yeah,
and
and that's well, the best part. One of the coolest part of that series is the base of the statue is always linked to the character. I mean, obviously that one is Yoda's hut. Your ESB Boba was the slave one, and the
Camino
Book
for
of Boba Fett
Django.
Boba was the his throne. So
yeah, I
we
mean
spoke about
Spidey's like Spider Man's
Camino.
like Manhattan. So, but the cool thing about this one was I gotta see. Oftentimes when you do when you do work, whether it's and I do a lot of Marvel Cinematic Universe. I've done a lot of MCU stuff for Diamond as well. But so a lot of when you get to do film work based on films, even really old films, you'd be surprised how much legacy reference is available to you. It's all watermarked and stuff, so you can't share it or show it. They want to make sure that if they see it online, if pops up online and your name will be on it, so you're effed. But in doing this, I got to
Hmm.
look at the original sculpts of Yoda. But then once a friend showed me, um, the guy who sculpted Yoda gets a little bit too much credit because the original Yoda was made out of foam and put together by Wendy Frood, Brian Frood's wife. The famous designers of the Dark Crystal and all that stuff.
Yeah, yeah,
And it looks exactly like this. Like I forget this gentleman's name, probably a great sculptor and all that, but if you look at the forms and the massing of this foam Yoda puppet, it looked like a Muppet. It's like a Muppet
yeah.
version of Yoda, but man, it's like this is it.
Hmm.
Like I remember, like I still have all that stuff. I have the original Ralph McQuarrie portfolio. I have like the Star Wars sketchbook, Joe Johnston, but I remember seeing concept art for Yoda. Like if you read the Empire Strikes Back novelization, which I did, I think even before the film came out, um, Yoda's described as a blue elf, right? And
Yeah, yeah. I think I
and
recall
if you
that.
look at the original drawings of Yoda, like he's got like long hair, he's kind of skinny, he's standing up, holding a staff. There were all different iterations of Yoda before they actually made it to the film and was performed by Frank Oz with such just perfect. I mean, perfect
I'm
magic.
just glad that I got to at least tell you that that's one of my favorite statue
I'm
from
very honored
the
that you
Ultra
said that.
series. Yes,
I'm very honored that you say that.
it's up there. We all have our favorites because it depends on the character and everything. But Yoda is kind of special to me as well for many reasons. And when I first heard him say, you know, uh, is it by my side that you can judge me? And stuff like that. When he speaks to Luke in ESB, I'm like, being disabled, being in the wheelchair, I'm like, okay, he's telling me, if I read between the lines, that everything is going to be all right. Life will take care of me, and don't worry about that kind of stuff. And yeah, you're going to make it. So he gave me hope. But he was talking to Luke, but I felt like he was talking to me the first time I saw it, and I was like, what, 6 or 7 years old. So
I'm gonna make a deal with you.
go
I want
ahead.
you to take. You're gonna take your Yoda,
Mm-hmm.
put it in a box, and send it to me. I'm gonna take my Yoda. I'm gonna sign the base, and I'll send it to you.
Okay, so we'll trade. All right.
But I'll give you. I'll sign it with a silver sharpie on the bottom, Dom.
Excellent.
Is that
Excellent. Well,
cool?
thank you. Yeah, it will be awesome. Yeah, for sure.
And because I would love you to sign yours too.
Okay.
That,
Well,
that would
I
that would mean
cannot
a
hold
lot.
the pen, but I'll have my mother is mimicking because I used to be able to write with a pen,
We'll
and
figure it
my,
out.
my,
It'll
my
be
mother is mimicking my signature like to perfection.
It's okay.
So I'll have
And
her
and
sign the.
Eric, I could maybe trade you my Ridge line for one of those suits. I don't know. They're kind of
Yeesh.
big. They're big. They're pretty big, bro. I don't have anything to trade that big.
No,
No, but that's just no, Dom. I mean, like it would mean a lot to me to be able to share that statue with you and give you one signed because someday, it's just like I don't know. Maybe I don't if you want it signed. I don't know because it's on the
I'd love
shirt.
that. Yeah.
Yeah, that'd be cool. It means a lot to me that you said that. It means a lot to me that what you just shared.
And
And
I think when I do my reviews, I don't know if you took the time to watch them, but
yeah,
I always
I follow you on
mention
Instagram.
the design and the sculptor.
Yeah,
I think I said Joe Allard so many times, and it's mostly you and Rocco Tartamella who does the LTD bus for Star
I
Wars.
don't know Rocco. I used to be. I don't. I was connected to him on social media before, but I got disconnected from social media.
his
And
his
never.
account got hacked or something like that. He
I
lost his
never
account.
reconnected with him.
Yeah,
Yeah, I just
I've
and
known Rocco just because he's done so many sculpts that I've ended up painting for. I don't want to say third party, but people who kit bash, I guess, stuff. Like the figures that are never really made, and he's made sculpts on commission, and he sends them to me directly for a customer who wants to get them painted, like kind of the ones that I'd shown you in the
that's
chat
cool.
there. So
I
it's
recall there was a time I disconnected from a lot of folks because things started getting too political on social media. So I just, if
Hmm.
people were getting political, I was just disappearing on them
yeah.
because just. So this one though, this was like this is project managed by my friend Kevin Ellis. This was his second Star Wars job. Not the second. Is the second produced Star Wars job I did for Sideshow. My friend Matt Bischoff is the first one to ever call me to work for Sideshow. Actually, Joe Allard wanted me to work for Sideshow years and years ago, but I was unofficially exclusive with DC. And then finally, I was able to get in with Sideshow because my friend Matt Bischoff, who was not known to me as a friend at the time, but is now a very good friend, gave me a call. I remember the corner of Philadelphia. I even sent him a picture recently, like where I was when he called me. I did some six scale stuff that never got made. You see in my portfolio, there's a there, Sebastian Shaw Vader head. That
Hmm.
was for six. That was for quarter scale Darth Vader. They wound up never using it, but they were nice enough to let me show it. But that Jabba was like the coolest thing. Like that's six scale, but that's six scale for an action figure, but it's
Yeah.
basically like a quarter scale statue, right? It's big. It's
Oh
this
yeah, it's
the
huge.
Jabba is huge, man.
Yeah.
And it was really cool because we did three sets of eyes, we did multiple hands. Even Salacious Crumb has multiple. Um,
Like positions, I think.
yeah, yeah. Everything about this thing was pretty. I think there might even be an alternate tail. I forget, but
Hmm.
no, there's not an alternate tail. But I think we messed around. But I just this entire there was no like in this one. There's no design for this. This I just work for movie photos, like
Okay.
like or like production photos, whatever it was. Like this like even the clone trooper, I didn't get it. No, even the death trooper I did for Sideshow. Um, they had photographs of one of the designers, like from all the different angles. But even that, like what was really cool is a death trooper. I did I did a death trooper for General Johnny too. Um, Death trooper was one of those things that was like super secret. it was like way in advance of Rogue One coming out. So like there was like that was one of the only projects in my life where no, I also worked on Green Lantern movie stuff that was super secret. Um, which much with much less success, I guess, find it at the box office. But I didn't hate the film, But yeah, I got to work on some top secret Green Lantern stuff
Hmm.
well in advance of the film. But working on a Death Trooper was pretty wild, and it was like supposed like the only thing I don't understand about the Death Troopers, they were supposed to be Krennic's elite guard, but now they're like everywhere in every TV show.
Yeah.
But maybe that's
Yeah.
because David Bowie is my be all end all. But that maybe they were just that that maybe just that squad was Krennic's special guard, right? Because I like seeing Death Troopers all over
It's
the
because we'd
place.
never seen them, right? And then they just kind of pop up in between
I,
sequels
I
and the
Well,
originals.
they were mentioned in episode 4 when Obi-Wan and Luke are at the Sandcrawler, and he says all the dead troopers, uh, can shoot with that kind of precision,
no, he
which
says
is
only
like
Imperial.
a
Oh, I don't correct you, Don, but I'm older than you. No, he says
yeah,
only. Oh, say Luke thinks it's sandpaper. He says no, only. That's the whole. That's what the only thing I like about the Mandalorian joke about the stormtroopers that couldn't shoot is like what you're. It's exactly what you're talking about, Dom. When
yeah,
Obi-Wan says only Imperial stormtroopers shoot with this kind of accuracy or something like that, right? So,
yeah.
like, it's like say, Imperial stormtroopers are supposed to be like the greatest marksman in the galaxy, and then all of a sudden, like this, they can't. Of course, they can't shoot anybody because nobody wants to kill any main characters. They, of course, they're not going to hit
Yeah.
them. But David Bowie is my be all end all. David Bowie is the most important influence in my life as an art. He is
Wow,
the
cool.
best. This is a Black Star, also in honor of his death. These are done by my friend Cindy Vega. But David Bowie is the most absolute number. He's like my favorite artist in any medium. He is someone that I listen to daily, and he influences every aspect of everything that I do on a regular basis. This was, dude.
Wow, that's sick, man.
This was fun, man.
This was my
So
all-time favorite. I was at Celebration. This is exclusive, right? There was 500 pieces made or something, or
yeah, and then they did that. Then they did the 6 scale version later.
oh,
Like they did it. They didn't no, not six. You see, they did a reduced one like 10 years later. They did like a. They came out with a smaller version. But this is art directed by my buddy Gabriel Garcia. All I had for this was
Clone
the
Wars.
Clone Wars cartoon, like kind of like
Yeah.
promo art for this character,
Wow.
and this was like I think this might be the first time any statue company took the cartoon characters and made them look realistic. Like we were
Yeah.
looking at I was looking at Ray Park, it had like I was actually there was special 3D reference I had access to, but to just to look at. Um, I think this is the first time a company actually took the cartoon characters and made them look realistic. Like, because
Because
this
even in the cartoon, we never get to see him like fully like we see it now for your statue. So
there's one production, there's like one piece of art that has him like this, but it's just got a white background. You know what I mean, Dom? And Dom,
okay,
I wasn't correcting you about this the sand troopers. I mean the stormtrooper stuff. It's just like I'm a lot older than you, and you probably I don't we could have a contest to see who's seen Star Wars the most. I don't know, but no, but this was really interesting because it was what's his name, Sam Whit.
Sam Witwer,
What?
voice the voice actor.
Yeah, he's great.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think he did a great job as
Yeah.
Darth Maul in both series.
Oh yeah.
And this was just
He
this
also
is a
was
really
Galen Marek in the Force Unleashed
yeah
video
yeah
game.
yeah which one
He
I
did
played
a
one.
great job too there. Yeah.
I
Yeah,
missed out
and
on this one at the Celebration. I was gonna try to pick it up, but I didn't get
I
a
have one.
chance.
I'm not gonna mail that one to
No,
you,
no.
Mario. No.
Nope.
But it's
But
incredible. Wow. Like I just remember like looking at it. They had it on display and everything. It was just unbelievable. So
originally we had the horns really big, and I think they made us like if they originally the horns were big like in the cartoon, and they had us take them down. He originally had like nails. If you like my original set of renders that were online or not, this is the later set of renders. But this is very challenging to make all this stuff work, and
Sure it is.
so
but it
Yeah,
nice.
was
all the
yeah
wires and the articulation points and
yeah, this is so old. I mean, geez, I mean I've been doing collectibles for like I don't know 18 years, you know.
So
This is
that's the Netropro you were talking about, right?
yeah. This is a lot of work. Um, this I did a version with two guns, and I think this was the most complicated project I ever did in terms of parts. Like I think one of the guns. I mean, I don't remember. Like one of the guns alone had like 40 parts because you have to cut and key this stuff for production. But this is
Mm-hmm.
this is also art directed by my friend Kevin Ellis, and it was really challenging to work on this. It was a lot of fun, and I mean I'm a sculptor, right? I'm a sculptor. I mean I work with clay and make like kind of modernist looking like stuff that looks like Jacques Lipschitz or like just like I don't make sculpture that looks like this, and being on hard surface stuff is like my kryptonite. But
Okay.
like this is in the world of like video games or collectibles, there's organic sculpting and then there's hard surface, like literally, like, not to be pedantic, this is hard surface. So
Okay.
sculpting this kind of geometry for me was like painting. It was difficult. It was a trick.
Um,
Hmm.
I've
But
seen
I
we
was
have
able
one
to
of
do it.
these in our garrison here in Quebec, and even his costume when he puts it together is looks way overly complicated compared to our like the New Hope
But
Stormtrooper back there.
I don't mean to interrupt you. But I didn't do everything on this. Tim Hansen and the sideshow cut and sew department. Tim Hansen did the straps on the guns. I think I did the what do they call it, the pouches. But Tim Hansen did the pauldron. Like the
Okay.
shoulder pad thing. He did anything soft on here was done by Tim Hansen and his team. And he's another good friend of mine from sideshow I lost touch with. But yeah, man, this was a lot of fun. This is like
That
one of the
is right.
first big screw ups for my friend. I've given my friend Gabe Garcia so many headaches, and one of the biggest headaches on this one, I think the Ewok that's attached to his arm.
Mm-hmm.
Um, like I didn't engineer it properly, and it wouldn't come off or some stupid shit. But I I was just chasing girls by the time these cartoons came out. I did watch Droids because, look, I saw the holiday special when it came out, so I saw Boba Fett and Nelvana, and I was a big fan
Mm-hmm.
of that. I watched Droids also because Droids had an intro. Um, I even got the VHSs of all of
Well,
it stuff.
Ewoks did too, but the intro was really
No,
bad.
I was gonna say, but the reason I watched I was more into Droids because it had Boba Fett in a couple episodes, like the White
Mm-hmm.
Witch. Boba Fett was in there a couple times. It had that Mobius kind of, the French artist Mobius. He's a famous French comic artist, Mobius. It had his kind of aesthetic, but it also had a theme song by Stuart Copeland from the Police. It was like my favorite band when I was a kid, right?
Okay.
Um, but I've seen all the Star Wars and Ewoks cartoons. Of course I've seen all the live action Ewok films. I have them all. My daughter has a Battle for Endor poster on her wall,
Nice.
or no, Caravan of Courage. I'm sorry. Um, so for me, like I love doing this. This was fun. And General Giant did a lot of really cool. I think they called them tuned up or something. They had a cool Luke. They had a really good Han. Like the Han he was like shooting the
Okay.
cartoon Han
Was
Solo they
the
did.
Luke the one in his orange and the pilot outfit? I think was it.
I'm not
Uh,
sure. I'm not sure, but I very much remember the Han where he's shooting and he's like looking. He's got that really dynamic, like animated pose.
Mhm.
I forget the name of this artist. This is also for DC. I think his name's Helfinger or Jake. I don't remember. I don't want to be offensive. I just literally like. I never heard of this. No. This is a production. This guy works on SpongeBob. He's an
Okay.
animator,
it's got that
and
got
he's
that look
also
to it.
well, DC was really cool. It was called Artist Alley because that's how they literally devised this line. They would go to Artist Alley at the cons and find independent artists whose work that they like, and then make statues based off of it. DC was super cool,
That's
chill,
fun.
and
Yeah.
innovative. This was fun to do, man. This is the first portrait I ever did for collectibles ever,
That's
and
awesome.
yeah, it was thanks, man. And I mean, everything on the you can't. I don't have any shots of it, but everything inside the helmet is like screen accurate too. Like
Wow.
everything on the inside,
The
everything
mechanics.
in the helmet is as screen accurate as I could possibly make it.
Hmm. What scale was that?
That was a quarter scale statue.
Quarter scale. Okay.
This is 6 scale. This is I mean, hey man, this is a lot of fun to do too. I haven't seen Mandalorian fully, but I'm very glad. I've seen some spoilers. I'm glad Ahmad Best is
Yeah.
getting the place that he deserves in the Star
And the
Wars
respect
family.
you deserve as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, because
And
he was bullied, when the prequels came out, and he almost
and
committed suicide.
I know, yeah. And I hate this.
So
Well, that was another thing. That's one thing that Hayden and particularly Ewan McGregor spoke about. Like, they
mhm.
got shit on when the prequels came out. But
Yeah.
like now, Ewan, for me, man, Obi-Wan, the way they retcon that, the writing for Obi-Wan for me, that Obi-Wan for me is like that's equal. Obi-Wan might as well be a Star Wars film to me. Though, like
Yeah.
that's as good as any Star Wars. That for me, I like Obi-Wan better than any of the TV shows. Maybe because of my age,
Hmm.
but just the like the relationship between him and Anakin and I hate you. My favorite moment in Revenge of the Sith is when they're saying goodbye to each other for the last time as friends.
Yeah.
And right before Anakin gets
You
on the
were the chosen one.
no,
That scene.
remember right before he gets when they're Coruscant, right when they say goodbye,
Oh, okay. Yeah, yeah. When he
and
leaves
it's like
for
the
yeah,
last time they're buddies, right?
yeah.
But for me, what was he talking about? Obi-Wan. What were we just looking at?
You're talking about.
Oh, Ahmad. No,
John
so
John. I mean this.
I also thought it was ridiculous, like people calling George Lucas. I fully believe. I believe white privilege is real. I believe that in full equity. I believe in that everybody needs to be fully represented and just be self represent. I self identify.
Mm.
I am very very all about equity, and I'm left of left. But I have a hard time with people who are calling George Lucas a racist, considering when you know about his personal life and other works that he's made outside of Star Wars, and because I don't think the Phantom Menace was him trying to be like promote racial stereotypes. Everyone forgets that George Lucas wanted to make Flash Gordon, right?
Yeah.
He and Alan Ladd Jr. were going to make Flash Gordon, and Fox said no. Like he didn't set out to make Star Wars. He made
Hmm.
THX 1138, and he was going to make Flash Gordon. If you look at the Phantom Menace, all the stuff from the screens, everything in there, the accents and this and that, it's all like a throwback to the old Buster Crab Flash Gordon serials.
Yeah.
The decor, some of the spaceship designs. You remember the Nemoidians? Like those screens with the
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
little.
Hmm.
That's
Like
a direct throwback to. That's when Ming the Merciless would speak on the screen. He spoke on one of those visit screens. It was just like that.
hmm.
I'm not saying it wasn't like not like it could have been accidentally like not cool. A lot of it, but like I just like George Lucas, man, and man, Red Tails. I mean, here's a guy. This guy's like right on the front lines of like trying. I think he's like one of the most progressive guys in Hollywood.
Hmm.
But for me, Obi-Wan, I'm jumping all over the map. Obi-Wan for me was just purely. I think it's just some of Ewan was everything, and Hayden was incredible. Everything, and I like when Hayden's kind of he's kind of the very end where it's Obi-Wan's talking, so you get the light on Hayden's face is blue, but he's like, "You didn't kill Anakin Skywalker," boom, and then it's the
Yeah.
red light on his face. I
Yeah.
did. Everything about that was so perfect, man. And
That
Oh yeah.
kind
That
of
scene was
reminded me of the it was Force Awakens at that time when Kylo ends up killing
speaks
Han.
to
Yeah, and
Han Solo.
it's all
Yeah.
the
yeah,
lights there, and then the light goes away. His face turns red. It reminded me a lot of that, and I absolutely love that kind of reference.
that's
It's
my
it's
worst.
subtle but it's just so
Yeah,
cool, so well done.
that's my worst. That's my worst Star Wars memory. You
I
know
have
why?
Yeah.
No, 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 not for what you think. Because like I couldn't wait for that movie. Right? I
Hmm.
don't know any spoilers, anything. And they're on Facebook, and some asshole before the movie even effing comes out, some son of a bitch has a picture of Han Solo with the lightsaber going
yeah,
through him.
I didn't see that. Thank God.
And I was like,
Thank
F
God I didn't
you.
see
And
it.
he's like,
Yeah,
fuck you. He was like, excuse me, I don't mean curse, but he was like cursing at me. Yeah, man, but like,
yeah. Social media
Han,
these days, you can't even go on there unless you've seen a movie. Like even now, the Spider Verse. I don't really care that much, but I'd still like to have it spoiler free. And I'm gonna try to go tomorrow. Oh, well, I actually bought my tickets for it tomorrow,
Right.
but try to get rid of that. And when this stuff comes out, there's people that live to troll right online and try to purposely
I
post
stay
stuff
away, yeah, I
to
try and
just
stay
Ruin.
away from it.
Yeah.
yeah,
But even if you just scroll through your news, if you like you on Apple News, just the titles of some articles are like spoilers now.
yeah, yeah,
I still haven't seen Guardians again because my son's like 16 and he's like with his buddies and he's chasing girls or whatever. So like, that was our thing. Disney Plus, whatever it was, that was our show and the movies, so whatever. But so we actually I actually canceled my Guardians tickets 3 times. We have Spidey tickets for tomorrow, so that's cool. I haven't caught up on Boba Fett. We used to watch it like religiously I mean, Mandalorian, watch it religiously and but I tell you, I am as excited for the Flash as I was as I was for Empire when I was a kid. That's how excited for the
really,
Flash I am.
yeah.
Yeah,
You're
man.
excited for Keaton or for the whole thing?
For the whole thing.
All right.
I'm
But
cautiously optimistic.
I already have my Keaton action
Oh,
figures. Like, yeah,
nice.
Nice.
these terrible little Jazzwares figures, but I shouldn't say terrible, but they are kind of shitty compared to the Hasbro ones at the same scale. Like these are, but then again, these are like I don't know, $10,
Yeah,
maybe I don't know, $8, but yeah, I'm very excited about Michael Keaton's return to playing Batman, but I'm more so excited about um, I think James Gunn gets and loves comics. DC has not had a really. I think like the Batman and Joker are probably the two greatest comic genre films of all time. Their art, their
Hmm.
fine
yeah,
art. They're not even like, and I like all the DC films, but and I'm actually in the Marvel films. I have a little Marvel fatigue. There's just almost too many of them
yeah.
now, and it's like getting kind of top heavy. And then how do you? I think they should kind of Doctor Who it and maybe replace the actors with
Well, I find that
instead of like you
they've
kill
run
off.
through
How do
the
you?
story, right? Like, so it's like they when they close the Infinity War and all that stuff, like it's like where do you go from here? And like you said, you'd almost have to almost restart everything. And this is a perfect opportunity for DC to step in and start their
Absolutely.
story, right? So pick
Hmm.
up that momentum.
That's something. I'm a DC. I like DC. My collection's equal DC and Marvel, but I think the thing that DC's done very successfully over the past, since 1938 is, particularly since the 60s, starting in 1985. I mean, the crises that they've had crises stories going on forever since the beginning of the Silver Age in 1957 when the Flash of Two Worlds came out, but when they first reboot the whole universe with Crisis on Infinite Earths, and then every couple of years, like DC reboots, like and the New 52, that was
Yeah,
awesome, and then the
Hmm.
Rebirth was awesome, and now, they got the dark whatever the Dark Crisis is or whatever the new one is. I have to get that. I usually wait for the collected editions, but for me, James Gunn gets comics, man. And Peacemaker from Suicide Squad was fantastic, and Peacemaker is my favorite like superhero TV. Anything outside of Moon Knight and Daredevil, those are kind of different types of shows.
Hmm.
But James Gunn's shit stuff is so on point, so funny, fun, and serious at the same time. A lot of heart. When he made his announcement about like basing, Superman's based on All Star Superman from Grant Morrison and Batman and Robin based on Grant Morrison, the eclectic slate of films and the cartoon Creature Commandos, and the fact that if an actor's an act plays a character in a film, a video game, or a movie, it's going to be the same actor. The
yeah.
same way, like Star Wars, it's all going to be canon, just like Star Wars.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
that's
I
what
think,
DC's been lacking is that continuity right between. It just felt like they were giving licenses away, like Oprah Winfrey giving out cars. Like you had, you had how many different Flashes and Batmans and all this stuff, and you're just confusing the fan base at this point with all this stuff. And like, well, Zach, you already get that in Marvel, right? But that's a different level. You
Hmm.
had Titans and all this stuff, and you didn't know who was connected to what. Even to this day, people are wondering why. Who's the kid? Is it Grant something? The kid in the Flash series is not the same Flash in the movies and stuff like that. So
Yeah, Grant Austin, I
yeah,
I
think
never
is
had
his
a,
name.
I never had a problem figuring that out, especially
well,
since
no, that's it. But
even though
No,
Ezra
but you're more than a casual fan, right?
yeah,
So
so as a casual
yeah, I
fan,
think
you don't you're
no,
wondering
I
like
feel it, but like the thing is like. For me, the greatest superhero movie of all time will always be Superman the movie. Christopher Reeve was just so perfectly
Yeah.
Superman. Like so, it was like this was like you like he could make time go backwards, but he'd also like help a kid get the cat out of the tree. He was the way he transformed, and I think Oscar Isaac, the only guy to be able to do it. I mean, he, she, they. I don't mean to say guy, but the way Christopher Reeve would go, like the way he'd go from Superman to Clark and put the low.
Yeah.
And but I think Oscar Isaac's transformation from Mark to Steven was just like, oh man, it just made me cry. Or that, how about that one? I don't want to spoil it for people, but it's been out for a long time. What about when? Did you guys see the last that one episode, this fifth episode, where Steven's looking at his phone and he realizes he's not talking to his mother?
Yeah. I remember that
The
one.
look
Yeah.
on his face. Oh, awesome. But I think for me, Superman the movie was great, and I don't like Zack Snyder like shitting on like on us fans like, oh well, people couldn't get that my deconstructivist take on superheroes. I'm like, really? Because when Batman came out, that was pretty deconstructivist, and I don't know, Frank Miller's Robert Rodriguez Sin City and Daredevil and the Daredevil TV series and so many other films and Joker and even all the Nolan films, they were successfully deconstructivist. Batman was just kind of a detective. Batman was just most of my graphic novels here are in the other room, but like in the '70s, Batman was just like Star Wars show. Sorry guys, but
Oh, it's okay.
Batman was just this dude, right? He was just like a detective. He was just like
Yeah.
guy. And then Frank Miller's Dark Knight comes out, and it just blew the 1986 man. Frank Miller changed the world. But it was Batman was my age, and he was miserable, and he was angry, and then that became like everything after that. So and Frank Miller's and Alan Moore's Watchmen, like they reinvented the whole superhero genre,
Yeah.
and but like I don't
Watchmen,
know.
not everyone got. I mean, it's one of my favorite movies, I think.
I
And
thought they did.
I love
Yeah,
Watchmen
I
the
thought he
movie.
did as good a movie as he could, but the
yeah,
comic book is just
yeah. So I read the comic book before, and like I thought it was
yeah.
still very true. There was still obviously a couple things that are different, but I thought they respected the comic fairly well, and
Yeah, I don't mean to interrupt you, but I don't think people shit on that movie. I don't think he could have done a
well,
better job making it true to the
I
spirit
find
of
a
the
lot of
comic.
people just don't get it. They expected a superhero movie, and it's about superheroes, but it's not a superhero
I,
kind of movie, right?
Exactly.
Like
Yeah.
so.
it
Hmm.
had no connection to the source, had no connection to the comic, but I love the HBO series too. I
Oh
loved it,
yeah,
man.
that was good too. Well, I like the
Hmm.
soundtracks. I'm a huge Nine Inch Nails fan, so Trent did the whole.
That was great, but
Yeah,
it was but back. I don't I don't mean to keep you guys on. I mean, real. Thank you so much for having me, but I'm not trying to cut out.
Yeah.
no, it is. It's about
We
that
were
time.
watching the time as well, so yeah.
But for me, it is honestly the most important part for me is you guys, because if I can make anything that makes people happy, for me, that's what it's all about. And to be in this industry, yeah, I do it out of. I also do. There's a million. If you can't make money, anybody can make money. Anybody can figure out a way to make money. I truly believe that. Whether it's digging ditches, figuring this out, doing whatever. I mean, Dom, with your intellect, you might not be able to dig ditches, but I'm sure you figure out a way to make money. You know what I mean? Like if you really want to, but to be able to make
I'm
money,
working on it. Yeah.
yeah. But you know what I'm saying, though. I mean,
Hmm.
like there's always a way. There's always
Yeah.
a way.
Hmm.
But to be able to make money, earn a living by doing stuff that you
That you
love to
love.
do, and it
Yeah.
makes people happy. It's good enough. It's awesome enough that I get to do stuff that I love to do because I'm a geek, right?
Yeah.
I don't consider any of this shit art. No offense. This for me, I'm making things. I'm making statues and action figures and stuff. This is not art to me. This is entertainment. This is like, this is like this is like what I there's and I know I'm not saying it's not popular art, but for me this isn't like a Van Gogh or like even a child's finger painting to me has more artistic value
Hmm.
than a lot of this stuff in terms of just pure expression and feeling and emotion. This stuff is about if I make a Batman or I make a Luke Skywalker or whatever I make, I want to make it the best version of it. So when people spend their hard earned money on it, and they come home from work whether they're doctors or pumping gas, whatever that means. You know what I mean? I'm not judging,
Hmm.
making no value judgments, but no matter economic strata they're from, they had a shitty day, and they come home and they look at that Batman statue, and it's like it makes them happy. That's cool, right?
Hmm.
Like
That's it. Yeah.
that's what I love, and
Well,
so I like being
art
able.
is all about emotions. I mean, when I receive a L3D bust from from wherever I bought it, I'm like, I can't wait to open the box, and I can't wait to dissect every little details that there's on that statue. And when I see some cool textures, it moves me perhaps the same way as somebody, I don't know, watching the Mona Lisa, in a museum. To me, it, art is all about emotion. And
Yeah,
you were mentioning that you don't think that your work is art, but let me ask you like a final question. Like, do you think John Williams' music is our era of art? From the time there was Mozart, there was Beethoven, and John Williams is
absolutely,
our
Dom.
Mozart.
What I say for me is it's because I'm not. Let me rephrase what I said. I'm not saying that what we make is not art, but I am playing someone else's music. I
Yeah.
am just part of the band.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's another designer. Someone prototypes it. Someone paints it. I don't have a lot of control over it. You know what I mean? So it's not my art. It is. I'm not saying it. I shouldn't say it's not art, but for me, this is not my artistic output, right?
Hmm.
Like to me, this is 100% art, right? Like Jim Aparo, this is a collection of a famous penciler because he was a great artist. Or John Byrne is a famous comic artist, and this is the thing, But like collectibles for me is just, it's teamwork, man. I'm part of a team. It's not my voice. It's not my artistic voice. It's not anything. There's no. I invest as much in myself as I can. All the stuff I learned about sculpture and classical sculpture, I put that
Well,
all in there. But
just
honestly,
like John Williams, like a a flute player or trumpet player in his
but
London
he's a
Symphony
composer.
Orchestra.
He's a composer. He writes that music. He writes
Yeah,
that
but
score.
without the guy playing the instrument, there's no rendering to. It's only lines and dots, on the sheets.
No, I'm not
So
trying to devalue. I don't mean
yeah.
to devalue the genre or collectibles. I'm not saying it's just I'm not I mean I wouldn't dedicate like I wouldn't have like what I'm 50 it's almost half my life I've been involved in this industry. I wouldn't be doing
Hmm.
that if I thought it was garbage, right? It's just for me it's popular art. It's different for me,
It's not a,
you
like you
know.
said, it's not a personal expression or something.
That's
Like,
what I
it's
mean.
not. Yeah.
Yeah, it's not
It's
my own
directed.
art.
It's like, here, do this. Okay, I'll do it. I'll do it to the best of my ability, and that's it. But like, if someone came to you and says, make me a statue with no direction, and then
You guys have no idea. Like every time you do a statue, say you go through like first you do a first pass, and then the art
Hmm.
director says change this, change this,
yeah,
change this, change this, change this. Then you do a
Yeah.
second pass, fix this, fix this, fix this, fix this. They put overlays, they draw over everything. You go through that 5, 6 times on a job, like in a worst case scenario.
Yeah.
yeah,
I'm telling you, there's absolutely no autonomy for me in anything that you
yeah,
see I sculpt. I post it, I get to take credit for it. I play my game so I can get more jobs and do all the, you know,
Hmm.
don't get me wrong, but it's like, there's the art director should get more credit than the sculptor, frankly, because they're the ones that direct it. They're the ones that make it look like they want it to look.
yeah,
I don't
yeah.
want to,
I
man.
can
I don't want
understand
to
that.
like,
No, I get it. I get it. I get your point. Yeah.
but
Uh,
I love being a part of it. I love being asked to be on the show. I feel honored because I feel like there's as much personal work out there that I do. Like you put the gold Frank Miller bust up there. I mean, like, I'm not making excuses for anything that I do in the industry. I'm proud of everything I've ever done. I wouldn't have a whole web page dedicated to it if I didn't think it was, you know, and I'm not saying I'm the best sculptor out there, but I'm not saying I'm the worst, you know.
but on that note, where can we find you on social media and on the web or anything like that?
Um,
Because we'll
I
put them in the links below in the description.
In
But
the video description.
I
Yeah.
think the best, honestly, my Instagram is a lot of just bullshit of me and kayaking and cutting down trees and doing stupid shit. But it's Joe Menna, one word, Joe Menna sculptor, Joe Menna underscore sculptor, and And then that ArtStation page you already have the link to.
Yeah.
All right, so we'll
Put
add that
that
to
in the
the
links.
description definitely. Yeah.
I'm very blessed to be able to do this work, and I love it. And maybe part of it is also like because I have to, because I spend so much time doing it and can't do my own stuff, that I feel like at this age, at 53, I feel like this next 30 years, 10, whatever, however many years I'm blessed with, whether it's 5 minutes or for 30 more years, whatever, 40, whatever, this is my last shot at doing something good with my life. And I don't want to spend those last 30 years dancing to someone else's song. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I love this industry. Don't get me wrong. I love it with all my heart. But like I had the Judge Dredd license and that got effed up, and then I almost got worked on the Judge Dredd license again with Quarantine Studios. But they're kind of, honestly, I'll say Quarantine is a shitty company. I'll come out straight up say that they could sue me if they want. But yeah, man. But even that wouldn't be my own stuff. It'd be someone else's character. Just you just get to a certain point in your life, man, where it's like, well, number one, all that matters is family and health and all that stuff. But
Absolutely. Yeah.
anyway, but I have this is only my this is only one of my alter egos. So the other alter ego I get to have some fun with. Let's put it like that.
Excellent. All right, Joe. So thank you so much for your generosity and for accepting our offer to join the show. We're very glad that you were on it, and I hope our viewers enjoyed it as much as we did. And we'll call it a night for now. And
The
thanks
probably
everyone who stuck until the end. And
yeah, right.
yeah,
The probably
so
everybody's gonna think I hate the industry now. This will probably be your worst watched, your least viewed episode ever. You're getting all
no,
kinds
no,
of
no,
hate
don't
mail.
worry about
I'm
that.
gonna get death threats. You know, wouldn't be the first time.
Don't worry about
Thank you
that, my
guys. Thank
friend.
you
So,
so
All right.
much. I love you guys.
Thank
This
you.
was
all
awesome.
right.
Thanks
Thanks
for
for
being there.
watching, everybody, and may the force be with you.
Always.
Remember, the Force will be with you, always.